Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this Invest Hong Kong webinar, Aspire to Achieve More at Hong Kong, Explore the Opportunities in Asia's Leading Innovation and Technology Hub. I'm Alison Choi, Head of International Business Development of Invest Hong Kong. A very warm welcome to you all again. Today, we have a great lineup of speakers from ASEAN and Hong Kong, and they will share with you the career and business opportunities available in Hong Kong, as well as their own Hong Kong stories. Before we start, I would like to thank our co-organizers and supporting organizations for making this event happen. Without further ado, may I invite the Director General of Investment Promotion, Mr. Stephen Phillips, to deliver the welcome remarks. Stephen, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today. In particular, I'd like to thank you for sparing your lunch hour to be with us. First of all, I would like to thank our co-organisers, the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Offices in Bangkok, Jakarta and Singapore, as well as our fantastic partners, Glints, Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks and the Singapore Chamber of Commerce, Hong Kong, for supporting this webinar. I lead a team at Invest Hong Kong, a department of the Hong Kong SAR government that helps international companies set up and grow right here in Hong Kong. And of course, high quality talent is one of their biggest and most important needs. This is why Invest Hong Kong has been tasked with talent attraction by our Chief Executive, Mrs. Carrie Lam. ASEAN and Hong Kong have been enjoying close and long-standing ties culturally and economically. In recent years, the ASEAN bloc has become Hong Kong's second largest merchandise trade partner, and that is only set to grow. With the Hong Kong ASEAN Free Trade Agreement and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, the economic integration and business connectivity within Asia Pacific will be further strengthened. This means many more new and exciting opportunities for businesses, but also for talent. Hong Kong is a leading international city and vibrant financial and innovation hub, located right at the very heart of Asia. This allows businesses here to connect with other key Asian markets while gaining ready access to the vast opportunities offered by mainland China and in particular the affluent Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area. And despite what some commentators may say, two recent surveys show the number of mainland and overseas companies, as well as the number of startups in Hong Kong, reached record levels in 2021, with 9,049 companies in total and 3,755 startups. Indeed, this demonstrates and supports what we hear from businesses and entrepreneurs all around the world. Hong Kong remains to be an appealing destination for talent and businesses worldwide. Thriving businesses need talent to support their robust development in Hong Kong in the medium and longer term. As one of Asia's leading innovation and technology hubs and the international I&T hub for China, we have particularly high demand for I&T talent with various expertise, such as in AI, cybersecurity, fintech and life sciences. And this is something that the Hong Kong SAR government recognises. In the past few years, the Hong Kong SAR government has spent over $14 billion on a wide range of I&T related programs and initiatives, such as facility development, talent nurturing and retention, R&D funding and support for startups. In short, our rapid growth in the I&T sector is offering great career opportunities for talent just like you. On a personal level, I have been living and working in Hong Kong for over 30 years, and my passion for Hong Kong only grows. This city is modern, vibrant, and importantly, it's always full of opportunities. I know it's not an easy decision to relocate to another city, not least given the uncertainties brought about by the pandemic. But opportunity awaits you here in Hong Kong, and I can assure you from my own experience that a rewarding and fulfilling career awaits you. I most definitely encourage you to consider this international city which offers a fantastic combination of a cosmopolitan lifestyle with stunning countryside as your next destination. To conclude, I hope this webinar inspires you to consider the opportunities offered by Hong Kong, and we look forward to meeting you right here in Hong Kong. Thank you once again for joining us, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavours. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Now let's move on to the panel discussion on the opportunities for innovation and technology for talents and startups. We're very honored today to have Mr. C.T. Wong, Director of the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in Singapore, to moderate this session. May I now pass the floor to C.T. C.T., please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this panel discussion. First of all, we have 5 very experienced and knowledgeable speakers here joining us for the panel. First, I will have to introduce them one by one so that you have a better idea of what the discussion will be on. First, we have Mr. Charles Ng, who is the Associate Director General of Investment Promotion, Sector Specialist of Invest Hong Kong. So Mr. Charles Ng heads the sector specialist group, helping overseas and mainland companies to establish or expand business presence in Hong Kong. And they offer one-stop service to help startups, scale-ups, SME, and multinational companies to tap into the opportunities in Hong Kong, Guangdong, and also the Greater Bay Area, as well as the mainland and wider Asia. Mr. Ng speaks 6 languages and dialects and works for companies in manufacturing, trading, financial service, and banking sectors. He has an MBA degree awarded jointly by the Business School of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology and the Catholic School of Management of Northwestern University. Next, we have Mr. K.O. Cha, who is the president of Hong Kong Venture Capital and Private Equity Association. Mr. Cha has more than 40 years of board and extensive C-suite experience and family office senior executive. He is a seasoned venture capitalist, tech entrepreneur, and also a corporate executive in the technology and consumer sectors across Asia, Europe, and also the US. Then we have Mr. Anthony Zhong, who is the head of international business at Green Private Limited. Anthony currently serves as the head of international business of Greens, who is a tech-enabled talent solution startup. In his role, Anthony is primarily responsible for accelerating international business growth through the identification and implementation of customer acquisition strategies in both new and existing markets, as well as uncovering and forging strategic partnership. Anthony has a very experienced path. He used to work as a regional business analyst in a French conglomerate, and then he was subsequently deployed to various local markets, including Shanghai, Turkey, and Bangalore. Then Anthony joined the Family Office Development Team, a joint office between Singapore Economic Development Board and the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Anthony graduated from the Singapore Management University with a double major in psychology and business. Then we have Ms. Liana Lim, who is a vice president of sales at a global investment software company. She has 30 years of experience in the financial information service industry, supporting the both buy and sell side clients. Her role spans across financial research and analysis, product management, client support to new business sales. Most recently, she was the director of APAC business development for a fintech company headquartered at the Cyberport of Hong Kong. In her upcoming role at the global investment software company, she will continue to work closely with institutional investor community in Asia, providing tech solutions aimed in simplifying investment management operation workflow. Last but not least, we have Dr. Benny Low, who is the Chief Technology Officer at Precision Robotics Limited Hong Kong. So Dr. Low leads the research and development of the new generation of surgical robotic technologies, and his duties include managing the engineering and research team in Hong Kong, directing the clinical transition of the new such technologies, initiating and managing the associated clinical validations of the technologies, reporting the progress to the company board, preparing overseeing the company budget, liaison with investors and partners, as well as applying for government grants, attract new fundings and investment, etc. More importantly, he will continue to establish connections with local authorities, hospitals, clinical experts, suppliers, and other stakeholders. Dr. Low is a senior lecturer at Imperial College London. So we have 5 very wonderful speakers, and I am sure that everyone here at the audience would love to hear from them now. So I would like to start by asking one of the most important questions is, why someone at the audience from probably ASEAN region would or should consider Hong Kong as one place they should consider to relocate, to start new business, or to find a job? What's the Hong Kong key advantages for a ASEAN entrepreneurs or talents? First, maybe I would like to hear from KO, who is the most experienced entrepreneur executive here, to share with us a bit why you think Hong Kong has the key advantages.
Thank you. From my perspective, having lived in Hong Kong for 35 years, one of the reasons why Hong Kong is a very strategic advantage is that they have access to different markets, particularly in China, in the context of some of these new opportunities and initiatives coming out, the Greater Bay Area, the GBA, and also across North Asia. Also, this city is a very compact city, very safe, very efficient, and very convenient with incredible infrastructure from the airport to telecom infrastructure, broadband networks, and etc. But one of the most important part is really about rule of law. Hong Kong's has a rule of law that has been operating on international standards for many, many years. So you know what you're getting yourself into. And that's a very business-friendly type environment for people to do business here.
Thank you, KO. So I would also love to hear from Liana, who is in Hong Kong, start the business, does his career in the cyberport. So why did you decide to choose Hong Kong instead of somewhere else, and why?
So thank you, Siti. So first of all, I'm in the finance/fintech industry, right? And then when we think of fintech, people typically think of e-payments, mobile wallets, robo-advisory, a lot of these retail-oriented businesses. But I just want to say that even in the investment management space, there is still a lot of innovation going on, and there are very, very strong tailwinds for change. And part of the reason for that is because industry trends such as increasing fee pressures, or in a low yield environment where investors are increasingly looking for higher returns to enhance their investment portfolios, as well as regulatory changes. Right, following the GFC, a lot of changes have been made, asking for more detailed and enhanced reporting by these financial institutions. Right, and I think at the crux of it all, all of these all of these changes in the industry has necessitated the integration of tech solutions in the workflow of financial institutions. And I think that at the root of this all is really data. With more and more data available in the marketplace, requirements are growing from whether it's from the investors or from regulators. There's a lot of requirements that require the efficient use of data. And we know that in this industry, a lot of institutions are still using legacy systems, slow and clunky, that are not ready to handle the growing volumes of data, right? And as such, there really is a lot of room for tech disruption in this space. And we know that Hong Kong is still home to a lot of the largest and the best financial institutions in the world, and its ability to attract A-class professionals. So that's number one, right? It's still a very deep market with a lot of room for opportunity and for tech disruption in that sense. And the second reason is the proximity to China, right? As trite as the argument goes, it's still a very valid one where a lot of capital inflows from China will drive innovation in the areas that I just stated above. And let's not forget about human capital as well, right? A lot of the mainland Chinese professionals, they have deep ties with Hong Kong, right? Whether they do their undergrad in China and they take master's courses in Hong Kong, they come here to work and then they set up families and so a lot of deep ties. So this movement of human capital from China to Hong Kong provides for a very interesting convergence of minds between the existing Western talent, the A-class professionals that are already here, as well as the locals in Hong Kong who have studied all over the world and come back to Hong Kong, with the mainland Chinese professionals. So I think there are a lot of advantages to being here in Hong Kong, just to absorb the different kind of perspectives that all these people present, as well as the opportunities in tech disruption in the investment management industry, as I mentioned.
Thank you, Liana. I guess you raised a number of very good points about the talents, the capital from mainland China going to Hong Kong, which is a place which is really connected to the road. But before we further explore that few points, maybe I would invite Anthony to ask, what's the reason for you to think that there should be expansion in Hong Kong, we should work in Hong Kong, and what's the advantage of Hong Kong from your perspective?
Thanks for the question, CT. I think most of the panelists would have already given a very insightful response. But I think what we see from Glints is basically two main factors. The first one we see is that Hong Kong, in the startup space, of course, is rising rapidly in a few key areas. The first area would definitely be fintech, given Hong Kong's strong financial system. The second would be, of course, in the logistics space. We see quite a number of companies and startups rising in Hong Kong, and they are now starting to use Hong Kong to operate in the region, let's say in Thailand, Cambodia, and even in the Philippines. We're also seeing a rise in the deep tech space. So Hong Kong startups are now beginning to employ very sophisticated technology and starting to improve certain areas, let's say in home systems, in IoT or Internet of Things, and also looking at how to improve day-to-day activities that most consumers would not even think about. The last space that we see is rising very rapidly in Hong Kong is that of cryptocurrency. Of course, that is very linked to the fintech space, but we deem that as a more standalone structure. So we see that in Hong Kong, quite a number of entrepreneurs are beginning to hire professionals to look at very novel technologies related to crypto. And we are even seeing that some of these companies are spinning out to DAO or decentralized autonomous finance. And these companies are now beginning to lead the way in terms of how new age financing should be like. And quite a number of these companies are also backed by private investors. So we are seeing that these companies have a very strong runway. They have very strong funding, and they also have very ambitious plans for the region, which of course is good for both professionals and employees. Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. So I guess more or less some area of the potential business opportunities are also being covered by what you said. Maybe I will invite Charles to talk a bit more about the opportunities in the Greater Bay Area and from mainland, because I think this is something that our audience will be really interested in. Just like Liana mentioned, there are lots of talents from mainland China and also capital from mainland China coming to Hong Kong. And what's this bring out the opportunities for Hong Kong and how people can, from the ASEAN region, can utilize them?
Yeah, thank you very much for your question, CT. I think that's what it represents is a really the Hong Kong within GBA combination is really second to none. The GBA phenomenon is one of the most attractive one in terms of economic development in years. And the reason is because of its scale. Now, a lot of companies, what they are doing, innovative companies, as well as large multinational corporations, startups, scale-ups, investors, are using Hong Kong as an entry port into the GBA. It is currently, if you were to look at the GBA today, if it was an economy on its own, it would be the size of Spain, Australia, or Korea. And basically, it is a $1.6 trillion economy. And according to IMF, in 2030, this economy will grow to $4.6 trillion economy, which will be equivalent to that of Germany today. So in terms of scale, it definitely offers companies and entrepreneurs looking at scalability in terms of a market on its own with 86 million people, a very, very large market, which is bigger than the UK or France on its own. So if you were to look at that, the opportunities, the other area of opportunity as well is because of Hong Kong is a small market of 7.5 million people, but via Hong Kong and from via Hong Kong, companies can really tap into that 86 million people, and it's a very diversified economy. So when we look at businesses, in addition to what other panelists were talking about earlier in terms of the specific areas, because of the fact that there are so much the convergence happening, so we see a lot of the deep tech companies, the deep tech sectors flourishing very much. Of course, as we all know, Shenzhen is the most innovative city in the mainland. And Hong Kong's combination as a global financial center, as an international innovation technology hub, as well as a platform for East and West culture. This combination, together with the GBA, it's 1 + 1 = 11, not equal 3 or 2, because of the fact of that scalability, of that synergy. So both for B2B businesses and also for B2C businesses, as well as the diversity. So what we see is that not only the emerging areas of deep tech that was mentioned before by the panelists, we also have the traditional business using technology as an enabler, adopting and adapting technology. So we see a lot of areas like food tech, like prop tech, like also some sustainability technology, et cetera, that are propping up where the traditional sectors of the economy are adopting technology. And thereby, this is creating a huge opportunity, not only for the deep tech sectors, but also for the traditional sectors that are embracing technology and transforming their business to the next level.
Siti, can I add to what Charles has been saying? If you imagine that this Greater Bay Area is actually very similar to the Silicon Valley in San Francisco area. So today, it's if you look at Silicon Valley today, it's huge, and it's an economic engine, one of the economic engines of the United States. If you imagine that this Greater Bay Area, together with Hong Kong, can be the next Silicon Valley in this part of the world, then your imagination can stretch as far as you want. On top of that, one of the success of the whole tech is a couple of very large companies that are in that area, namely across the Shenzhen, you have the Tencent, you have the Huawei, that actually becomes the bedrock of the whole entire flow of capital, human capital, and all the type of capital that you can think about. Whereas Hong Kong can become a very strategic hub for the capital markets as well. So you can incubate in Hong Kong, and then you can move into northern part into the GBA area. To me, that's very, very exciting. And when you have that, you couple onto that, then you have the venture capital coming alongside, not just in the Shenzhen area, but also from Hong Kong side. That is the fuel for the entire economic development that will flow through over time.
Thank you, KO. As a very seasoned venture capitalist investor, do you have some areas which you think have the greatest potential business opportunities in Hong Kong, given just what you said and Charles said, the developments of the Greater Bay Area and the mainland capital and talents coming in? Do you have some areas you can highlight so that our audience can also give some thoughts to that?
If you look at the next generation of technologies that are going to emerge, I call it the ABCD. A is artificial intelligence, B is blockchain, C is cybersecurity, cloud, D is data, H is healthcare. Everything is there. And I sometimes use the word X tech, could be fintech, prop tech, insurtech, health tech, whatever tech you can think about, is already emerging in this whole Greater Bay Area. So whatever thoughts and ideas you have, one of the biggest flow is not just capital, but also the human side, where Hong Kong has become an international hub of different people from different nationalities gathering here, coupled onto what Liana was saying from the China talent as well. So the mixed breed of different talents, not just drive a single company with single type of nationality, but when as a venture capitalist, when I see mixed nationalities, that's usually a very good formula for success because they bring different ideas, different thoughts, and different cultural nuances that not just flow into the Asian context, but can go on a more international level as well.
Thank you, KO. So you gave a really great overview of areas like you said, A, B, C, D. There's a lot of them. So I think the opportunities are really great. And now maybe I will invite Dr. Benny Low to talk about for your specific sectors. How do you see what would be the potential business opportunities in Hong Kong, especially given the further integration of the Greater Bay Area and all the collaboration Hong Kong will be having with Shenzhen, which is the tech hub of China?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So, yes, so our company, Precision Robotics, we work on surgical robots. So it's a bit different from other fintech or other industries. So we see Hong Kong, of course, we're next to the Shenzhen, the technology hub, and we also right inside the Great Bay Area, which is the manufacturing hub, of the world. Mm-hmm. Those are actually quite beneficial for a company like us because we do need manufacturing capabilities, and we also need the technology itself. So having located in Hong Kong, it gives us this advantage to have access to some of the technology from Shenzhen or from other parts of the world, and also some of the manufacturing. And in terms of another big advantage of locating in Hong Kong is Hong Kong has, as KO mentioned at the beginning, that it has a very established legal system, a very well recognized clinical regulatory system, and also it support all the international standards. So for us as a medical technology company, it's very important that our work will be recognized and can be qualified or to sell in different markets. And of course, Hong Kong have access to the Greater China market, which is one of the major markets in the world. And these are quite important factors for us. And also, Liana has mentioned earlier, talent is very important for us. Especially, we need quite special skills, some robotic skills, some manufacturing skill, mechanical engineering skills, and so on. And as an international city like Hong Kong, it gives us the opportunity to attract people from local. We have a very good university in Hong Kong. From mainland China, there are quite a lot of very talented engineers and scientists from China, and also anywhere around the world, because probably Hong Kong is quite used to using a system which is quite similar to other parts of the world, like Singapore. So it's quite easy for people to move to Hong Kong, and this is what we see is the advantage of setting up in Hong Kong.
Thank you, Dr. Low. So you make a very great overview of especially the manufacturing side. And Hong Kong, of course, used to be a big manufacturing hub, but I guess right now the government is also pushing for advanced manufacturing. So this is what the government is supporting as well. Hong Kong will be building up high value chain, and the science park is also working on the old industrial buildings to help support advanced manufacturing. So something that people shouldn't forget is Hong Kong still have manufacturing going on, and a lot of manufacturing can be done in Shenzhen, which is just next to Hong Kong, which is very important. So I have something I'd like to ask Leanna, because both KO and Leanna mentioned, I guess more than once, about data. So it's something really hot and important. From Leanna's view, of course, data is really important. And as someone working at the financial side, what opportunities do you see are you seeing in Hong Kong related to what you do, or what you see in the future
Sure.
would be something really hot?
So as mentioned before, I think because of the proliferation of data, there are also increasing requirements from, say, the front office, right? With more data, you want access to all these data to better inform intelligent investment decision making. There is also more data requirements coming from investors, investor mandates. They want to know what you're doing, whether you're fulfilling your fiduciary duties. They want more transparency on what their managers are doing with the money. Regulators as well, they want more enhanced, real-time, accurate reporting to better protect the consumers and for the financial institutions to better manage their risks. And all these start with managing data. But with the complexities of data, it's hard, right? The systems, I mean, right now, the industry is getting data from multiple different sources. And the complexities of ETL, extract data from multiple sources and then transforming them into usable formats before finally loading them into systems for the end users to use. This is an extremely manual process where a lot of firms are looking to automate, right? So I think there are a lot of opportunities in, say, EDM, enterprise data management, whether it's in terms of providing cloud solutions or in terms of looking at big data. Managing data is just the first step. After that, how do you extract insights from these data sets to help with your investment decisions, right? And then there is also increasingly the vendors are trying to improve connectivity to new asset classes, such as crypto, as you mentioned, and NFTs. Investors are looking across the board, but they do not want to manage their holdings across multiple different managers, multiple different platforms. So how do we bring all of that into kind of under one roof for them to better manage their portfolio? So all these data aggregation and connectivity is becoming increasingly important. In terms of the opportunities for professionals, either people who are well versed in data management, EDM, or big data scientists, people, fintech engineers. Otherwise, if you're not a tech-oriented professional, it makes a lot of sense for you to understand at least what benefits data can bring to your business, so that you can clearly communicate this to clients, right, or internally.
Yeah, thank you, Leanna. I guess you make a number of really important points, and I guess from the audience who are familiar with the industry, they definitely would like to know more. But right now, we are heading back to Anthony first. So I also want to know from your perspective, because you help companies, you help startups, what do you feel would be the opportunities in Hong Kong? What kind of businesses do you think would be benefits from the development of Great Bay Area and opportunities in Hong Kong as well?
Thanks, CT. I think specific to the startup or maybe even the technology space, the type of opportunities have really been consistent with what we have seen or what consumers have come out to say that they need throughout this pandemic situation. So what we are beginning to see and what could possibly translate to a business opportunity is the creation of X-Tech, like what KO mentioned. So this would be traditional industries or traditional areas that are now beginning to modernize or digitize through the usage of technology. So two areas that we see are really healthcare and biotech. So if we look at healthcare, we are beginning to see an increase in queries and an increase in demand from consumers wanting to have greater access to healthcare. And this will not just be healthcare for humans, but also for healthcare for their pets. So if we link back to the pandemic situation and how all these movement restriction measures have resulted in a lot of hardship, we see that there is great opportunity for companies to think about how they could be more innovative when it comes to telemedicine, or how they could also be more innovative when it comes to supporting even things that are close to them, which is their pets. And then if we move on to another related area or potential business opportunity, that would be in the IoT area. So that would be how to actually make the livable space or the home actually more conducive for the consumer. So we are also starting to see more venture capital firms starting to put their money in very early stage IoT type of companies. And these are companies which are beginning to look at the development of technology to make the home better. So let's say it could be even something simple, such as extending the radar or extending the range of their smart hub systems now, which actually is very limited. So the smart systems might only be about 10 or 15 meters in terms of proximity. So now more money is beginning to be put into such areas. I think the third area that we see in terms of business opportunity, this is going to be a more macro one. So if we look at the startup space, investors, particularly private equity or venture capital firms, would always be interested in investing in high growth companies and also in innovative solutions. And as long as these companies demonstrate that they have potential in these areas, then definitely this is an area which VCs will put their money in. And it will also signify to the economy, to the larger economy, that these are potential growth areas.
Thank you, Anthony. I guess we have a really good mix of speakers, and they have all covered different areas of potential growth opportunities. And I hope the audience have get some idea from them. But back to a more personal level, because if I am going to start a business in Hong Kong, relocate to Hong Kong, there's also quite a important decisions, because it means that I will live in Hong Kong. So a lot of people would think that Hong Kong is a metropolitan city, a lot of things going on. But for example, Leanna, could you share with us your personal experience of living in Hong Kong? What do you like about Hong Kong, and maybe what do you don't like about Hong Kong? And just give us sharing, because you have been the one actually relocated to Hong Kong.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. So I'm born and bred in Singapore, and I moved to Hong Kong about 4 to 5 years ago. And to be honest, completely, when I wanted to move to Hong Kong myself, and why? It's because I know that it's a very messy or unstructured environment. At least that's what I thought. And I didn't speak any Cantonese at all, right? So I thought, it's going to be hard. Like, people are unfriendly from past experience. But I intentionally wanted to put myself in such an environment just to toughen myself up. So that was the reason why I wanted to move here. But now, 3 to 4 years in, I feel that I really, really enjoy living in Hong Kong. And part of the reason for that is really the kind of people that you will meet. You know, the different foreigners living here, the different perspectives that they offer, and just the fact that, you can open up, broaden your horizons a lot just by talking to them. So of course you should never stick to your own bubble and just mix with your own countrymen. On the other hand, I also find the messiness of Hong Kong, the charm. It's very charm, right? Even when you think people are unfriendly, right? Like, I go to a eatery and I try to order my noodles. I haven't even sat down, and then she'll shout at me from across the eatery and say, "Gong." Like, just order now and tell me, shout across the room, right? And I'll be like surprised at first. But I think it's really quite amusing if you think about it. And when they say taxi drivers, they scold you, blah, blah, blah. It's really actually quite an interesting experience if you just embrace it, right? They don't mean to, don't take it personally, because they don't mean to offend you. It's just the way they speak, very direct, very straightforward. And I think it's really very dynamic in that way, where you see the very modern part of Hong Kong, but also on the other hand, the very traditional, the very local things happening right next to the higher, the modernities of Hong Kong. So I think this juxtaposition is really something that I can't find even in Singapore. Right? A lot of Singapore, I still think is more modern in certain areas, the architecture than in Hong Kong. So I find this really an alluring aspect of Hong Kong.
I'm glad that there quite something that you like about Hong Kong, or something that's too stressful. But for me to defend Hong Kong a bit is, I guess, what you encounter, people scolding, and they're just Hong Kong is a really fast-paced metropolis, and people are getting impatient sometimes, so they want something to be done very efficiently. That's why what you encounter. So I guess we basically covered some areas of important opportunities, and Leanne also shared her personal experience in Hong Kong. Now, maybe I would like to ask, what programs are there in Hong Kong to support enterprises or support startups to do business and explore opportunity there? I think there will be some programs. So maybe I would invite Charles to start by offering some information, and then I will invite Dr. Low and Leanna to speak of your own experience in dealing with these programs. So start by Charles.
Thank you, CT. Well, I think that the very interesting part in Hong Kong is that both the government and also what we call Hong Kong Inc. partners like the Science Park, Cyberport, and Hong Kong Productivity Council, and also the 5 research institutes, as well as the 6 research universities, offer different type of programs, if you will, that actually facilitate entrepreneurs and companies to come in. This is from the government kind of related institutions. But also you've got a lot of the private sector institutions where we have innovation labs, co-creation labs, as well as in different verticals, in different sectors. And the very cool thing is that, as what was talking about, the fact that Hong Kong is a very diverse cultural group of people, the fact is that 1/3 of the 3,700 plus entrepreneurs here are from overseas. They're from overseas, they're from different parts of the world, and also from the mainland. And that is really offering that diversity. But in terms of offering, we have very specific programs. The government has actually invested in the last 4 years, over $14 billion in infrastructure in the likes of Cyberport, Science Park, to facilitate different labs and different co-working spaces, different type of co-creation labs, and also the various research institutes to really facilitate R&D. For those of you, of the people who are in deep tech, there's a huge opportunity as Keo and also Anthony was talking about in terms of the diversity, in terms of the deep tech. There are a lot of these opportunities are offered by the Science Park and Cyberport, which have very specific programs that they have to encourage new cohorts to come in. But of course, we have also the private sector, which have different incubation programs, accelerator programs, that is very, very diversified. Because when you look at the companies when they come in, or the entrepreneurs when they come in, we have programs that really fit at different stages. So when they come in, if they are really early stage entrepreneurs, there are these accelerator incubation programs that would sort of offer them that facility. And we have all these co-work spaces available and co-living spaces available that will cater to that. But in regards to those who are looking at doing deep tech or research, etc., the government is very generous in terms of giving a lot of benefits to encourage companies and also co-invest together. For example, we have programs where the government co-invests together with the VCs in Series A and B. And so when we look at the supply chain of investors, I think Hong Kong has all the ingredients to really facilitate not only companies that are looking for funding, entrepreneurs that are looking for funding, but also entrepreneurs that are looking to grow in the marketplace. So ideation to commercialization, to scale their products and scale their businesses. We have these facilities. And of course, Invest Hong Kong as a government department, we offer this one-stop service where we would signpost and direct people to different stakeholders and introduce them to them so that they can take off with the business, not only set up, but also expand and looking at potential investors, potential companies for them to grow or tap into, as well as talent. And this is very important because when the companies come in, one of the facilities we also provide is that we have a very open immigration system where we offer support to actually attract companies and talent to come here. So whether you are as a talent, whether you're looking to set up a company in Hong Kong or to tap into selling your products or services to innovators or larger companies or SMEs, as a matter of fact, or grow across the border in the GBA, or actually look and to do research at universities or teach. There's all these areas of development that are there. And so the universities, the research institutes, the Hong Kong Inc. partners, and also the likes of Cyberport and Science Park offer these platforms together with the private sector, a very large pool and vast opportunities for entrepreneurs to tap into. Of course, with the funding from the government, etc., that is offering a lot of different talent, different opportunities for people to benefit from.
Thank you, Charles. Maybe I will also like to hear from Dr. Lobani. What's your own experience about all the programs, initiatives?
Yeah, so thanks. We are quite fortunate in a way, having received some support from Hong Kong governments and the Science Park. So maybe I can just briefly talk about like what kind of opportunities are there in Hong Kong in terms of the funding and support. Hong Kong government has probably mentioned in this webinar often that has already put in a lot of investments and support for small enterprises or tech companies in general. And they have quite a lot of programs, as Charles mentioned, that many of them are really target for like small startup or medium-sized companies like ourselves. And some of them, like they co-invest, as Charles mentioned. And we also have support from the Science Park. So Science Park not only providing support in terms of helping establish the business, it also provides some funding as well in terms of supporting some of R&D activities here in Hong Kong. And also, as Charles mentioned, innovation is also important for us to attract talents, and the process very, very straightforward, and to get the visa to attract people from China or from anywhere else in the world.
Thank you, Penny. So for Leanna, what's your experience at Cyberport, which is in addition to Science Park, another government vehicle supporting enterprise and driving innovation technology?
So my previous company was based in Cyberport, and the rent subsidies were a huge relief. As you know, a startup doesn't have much money to start with, so the rent subsidies were really helpful. And also there were a lot of different marketing programs where we can claim subsidies from as well. So if you hold events, you do banner printing, all of these, there are programs to claim from. And if at any time it gets messy, there are always people that you can talk to who try to understand your business needs better and then inform you what kind of different types of subsidies available that may be suitable for you. At the same time, I've also received help from InvestHK. They help to make introductions to various financial institutions, as well as offer to feature our companies in their newsletters, right, which go out to institutions outside of Hong Kong, whether it's ASEAN or global. So that's really helped in our marketing exposure as well.
Sorry, I got logged off.
So we did wrap up the panel discussion, but we have the breakout session with 3 great breakout rooms with the different speakers. We have relocation tips, we have the career workshop, and also experience sharing. So before ending the panel discussion, one final question is for KO and Anthony. If I am someone want to go to Hong Kong, what qualities employers are looking for, and what specific jobs opportunities will be in Hong Kong for me? So maybe start by KO.
Really, it depends on the level of jobs they're coming into. I see for Hong Kong, for talent coming in, there are actually 3 layers. One is the technical skills, the developers, the programmers, and the people doing all of the base technical stuff. There's a middle layer, which is I call it the project managers for software, for hardware, for R&D project managers. And for senior management, the VP of engineering, VP of software, and that kind. For each layer is slightly different in terms of the skill sets and the quality that is required. Obviously, from my perspective, when I recruit either for my venture capital portfolio companies or for myself previously as a technology manager, I look at three things: attitude, aptitude, and values. Attitude is really about how you approach problem solving, how you do things in an appropriate way. Uh, Aptitude, the fact that you have an engineering degree, you know what you're doing, you have the ability to learn, basically. And the values, whether you can fit the culture of the organization, and so on and so forth. And actually, one of the most important part is I call it transferable skills. And transferable skills is not just for one specific industry, but for across different industries. Things like language skills. And people from Southeast Asia is great because they have most of the people there have multiple languages. And you have other skills like teamwork, communication skills, the ability to not if you're a VP of engineering, you need to be able to dialogue with that of your senior management or even present to the board of what you're trying to do in more simple languages. And that needs a skill set to communicate. And I find that a lot of the technical people struggle to learn through the organizations from a technical person to become someone that's articulate, to be able to speak something from not just from the technical terminologies, but more of a business and a management perspective. So it's very, very broad and depends on what layer you're coming into Hong Kong on. And obviously in each of those layers you have a requirement for that kind of skill sets. That will be my
Thank you,
take.
KO. So maybe I will just give some time before we end the panel discussion to Anthony also speak a few words.
Yeah, sure. I know everyone is excited to move on to the breakout rooms, so I will keep this short. So I think definitely KO talked about the skills that's required, and of course I believe the technical skills that every employer needs for every role is the first thing to consider. But I think more qualitatively, what is important is similar to what Leanna shared in her experience. I think when considering the move to Hong Kong or considering the move to any country in particular, I think number one, there must be an appreciation of what the Hong Kong culture is like, the people, what they're going to be like. I think Hong Kongers, in my experience, of course, don't judge me too much. They are very hard on the outside, but very soft on the inside. So they might appear confrontational, very directive, more aggressive. But actually, I think they make excellent mentors, makes excellent employers, and fully vested in career development. So I think if for the professionals out there, the talent that is watching this webinar, if you're looking for long-term growth and value, then I think a Hong Kong company is definitely one for you.
Thank you very much for all our panelists. We have a great discussion. So for the audience, please move to the breakout room because we have 3 different sessions on how to, the tips to relocate to Hong Kong, what's the hot thing happening, and what's the career tips for you. So please join us for the breakout room. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thanks, CT and the panel for the insightful discussion. I understand that many of you may still have questions, and so we have 3 interactive breakout sessions coming up after the webinar. To join the breakout, you must ensure that you've got your video and audio devices properly connected to your computer and being switched on, or you may easily access with any portable device which would usually got built-in camera and microphone. You will see the breakout session thumbnails both under the Home or the Theatre tabs. Find the breakout session which you would like to join and click the Live Now button. The breakout sessions will last for 30 minutes, and during that period, feel free to hop between different rooms and to have fun. So we look forward to seeing you at the breakout soon.